Your wife is emotionally checked out. She's cold, distant. Maybe she says she loves you, but she's not in love with you. And here's the truth most men never hear. She didn't leave because you're broken. She left because she doesn't feel safe. What's up? I'm Noah Allen, and today we're talking about why she's emotionally checked out and why 99% of men completely miss the real reason. Now, if you're watching this, you've probably already tried the typical advice. You've apologized, you've given her space, you're nicer, you've worked on yourself quietly, and none of it worked. She's still distant, still cold, still checked out. And you're left wondering, what am I missing? Here's what you need to understand. She didn't shut down because you're not good enough. She shut down because she doesn't feel safe. And until you understand what that actually means, nothing you do will bring her back. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 things. First, why she's not rejecting you, she's just protecting herself. Second, how your bleeding points created the cage that she's living in. And third, how leadership rebuilds safety without chasing or begging. By the end of the video, you're going to see the situation completely different. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you exactly how to start leading differently, starting today. So let's go. All right. So the first thing you need to understand is this. When your wife is emotionally checked out, and when she emotionally checks out, she's not rejecting you. She's protecting herself. Now, I know what that sounds like. It sounds like a small difference. But understanding this shift changes everything. Okay? Let me ask you something. When your wife pulls away, what's your first thought? Oh, she doesn't love me anymore. She's giving up on us. She's just being cold, right? And that's the problem. Because when you see her withdraw as rejection, you respond from fear. You try harder, you apologize more, you give her flowers, you promise to change, and what happens? She pulls away further, right? That's because her emotional shutdown isn't rejection, it's actually just a protection response. Now, I need you to really understand this because this changes everything. When your wife shuts down emotionally, she's not choosing to hurt you. She's not trying to punish you. She's not being cold on purpose. Her nervous system has made a decision, and that decision is, I don't feel safe. Think about it like this. If you walk into a room and there was smoke everywhere, thick, black smoke, the heat is unbearable. You can't breathe. What would you do? You would leave, right? You wouldn't think about it. You wouldn't analyze it. Your body would just say, get out. That's what your wife's emotional withdrawal is. It's not a conscious choice. It's a survival response. There's fight, flight, and freeze. And here's the part that most men miss completely, utterly. They can't convince someone to walk back into a burning room. You have to clear the room first. So let me give you some concrete examples so you can see what this looks like in action. Example number 1 is the silent treatment. Your wife stops talking to you. You ask her what's wrong. She says nothing. You try to engage. She gives you one-worded answers. And you think, she's freezing me out. She's being cold again. But here's what's actually happening. She tried talking before. And when she did, what happened? Maybe you defended yourself. Maybe you got angry. Maybe you minimized what she was saying. Maybe you made promises you didn't keep. So now her nervous system is saying, talking doesn't work. It's not safe to open up. So she shuts down, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she's protecting herself from being hurt. Example number 2 is the cold shoulder. You try to be affectionate, you reach for her hand, you try to hug her, and she pulls away. You think, she doesn't want me anymore. But here's what's actually happening. Physical touch requires emotional safety. And right now, she doesn't feel that safe to even allow that vulnerability to happen. Because every time you touch her in the past, it came with an expectation. If I touch her, maybe she'll soften. If I hug her, maybe she'll forgive me. If I'm affectionate, maybe things will go back to normal. That's a transactional relationship. That doesn't build safety. She feels that. She feels the neediness behind that. And her body says, this doesn't feel safe. This feels like pressure. So she pulls away. Example number 3 is the emotional wall, or I should say the infamous emotional wall. You try to have a conversation about the relationship. You say, I just want to understand what you're feeling. And she says, I don't want to talk about it. So you think, she shut me out. But here's what's actually happening. She's been talking for years, like we just talked about. Nothing changed. She told you that she felt alone. She told you she felt unheard. She told you she needed more from you. And you either defended yourself, promised to do better, or you got emotional. So now her nervous system is saying talking doesn't create change. It creates more pain. So she stops talking, not because she doesn't care, but because she's tired of getting hurt. Now, here's why understanding this is so critical. If you keep treating her withdrawal as rejection, you're going to keep responding from fear. And fear-based responses push her further and further away. You'll chase her, you'll beg, you'll promise, you'll try to convince her. And every time you do that, you're proving to her that you still don't get it. Because here's the truth. She doesn't need you to chase her. She needs you to create safety. And creating safety doesn't mean I've changed. It means showing her through your actions that the room is no longer on fire. Now, think about a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It doesn't beg them to come closer. It doesn't panic when the ship drifts too far out into the sea. What does it do? It stands still. It shines. And it lets the ship navigate back on its own. That's what emotional leadership looks like. You're not chasing her. You're not begging her to trust you again. You're not trying to convince her with your words. You're becoming the lighthouse. You're clearing the smoke. You're stabilizing the ground. You're creating a signal that says it's safe to come back. And when she feels that safety, not hears it, but feels it, she'll start coming back. But here's the catch, okay? She won't come back because you promised. She'll come back because she feels it. That's what most men don't get. They think words create safety. I'm sorry, I've changed, I'll be different this time. But your wife has heard your words before, and they didn't create change. So now, she's not listening to your words, she's watching your actions. She's watching to see if you're the same man who hurt her, or if you're becoming the man who can lead her. Now here's the hard truth. You can't fake that. You can't perform your way into her trust, because her nervous system is designed to detect inauthenticity. It's designed to detect when you're saying what you think she wants to hear. And it's designed to detect when you're doing something to get something in return. So if you're thinking, okay, I'll just act differently until she comes back, she'll feel that too. And she'll stay shut down because she's not looking for performance. She's looking for proof. And proof doesn't come from what you say. It comes from who you become. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop seeing her withdrawal as rejection. Start seeing it as protection. Because when you see it as protection, you stop taking it personally. You stop responding from fear. You stop chasing, begging, and performing. And instead, you start asking the real question. What am I doing? Or what have I done that made her feel like she needed to protect herself from me? That's the question that changes everything. Because when you answer that question honestly, you start to see your bleeding points. You start to see the patterns that created the cage that she's living in. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Because here's the truth. Your wife didn't just wake up one day and decide to shut down. This didn't happen overnight. It happened because, of 1,000 small cuts, what we call death by 1,000 cuts. It happened because of patterns you kept repeating. It happened because of bleeding points you didn't address. And until you address those bleeding points, nothing you do will bring her back. Which brings me to the second thing you need to understand. Your bleeding points created the cage that she's living in. All right, so what is a bleeding point? This is a core behavioral issue that's been damaging trust over time. And here's the hard truth. Most men don't even know what their bleeding points are. So let me explain this. A bleeding point is a pattern. It's not one fight. It's not one bad day. It's a thing that you keep doing over and over that makes her feel unsafe. Maybe it's losing your temper when things don't go your way. Maybe it's shutting down emotionally when she tries to talk, or it's making promises and not following through. Maybe it's even, it's being inconsistent. Hot one day, cold the next. And every time you repeat those patterns, you're adding another brick to the wall between you two. And over time, she stops trying to reach you. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she's tired of getting hurt. And here's the thing most men don't realize. She didn't leave because of one big thing. She left because of 1,000 small things. It's what I call death by 1,000 cuts. Each small cut, manageable, maybe even forgivable. But over time, those cuts add up. And now she's bleeding out emotionally. So when you say, I've changed or I'm working on it, she doesn't believe you because she's been here before. She's heard this change before and nothing changed. Let me give you another analogy. Imagine you're standing in a room with a cracked ceiling. Every day, a little water drips through. At first, it's annoying. We'll be honest, right? But you deal with it. You put a bucket underneath. You ignore it. But over time, the drip becomes a stream. And one day, the ceiling collapses. Now, when someone says, hey, I fixed the leak, what's your first thought? Okay, but the ceiling is still broken. That's where your wife is. You might have stopped the drip, but the damage is still there. And she's not ready to trust that the ceiling won't collapse again. So here's what you need to do. Stop focusing on the drip. Start rebuilding the ceiling. And rebuilding the ceiling means addressing your bleeding points. Not with words, with action. Not with promises, with proof. Which brings me to the third and most important thing. Leadership rebuilds safety, not promises. All right. So here's the question. How do you rebuild safety? How do you become the lighthouse? How do you lead her back without chasing? Here's what most men get wrong. They think leadership means taking charge. They think it means being the decision maker or even being strong and stoic. But that's not what emotional leadership is. Emotional leadership is creating safety through presence. It's showing her through your actions that you're not the same man who hurt her. Here's the key. You don't do this by talking about it. You do it by being it. I'll break that down. There are actually 3 layers of emotional leadership. Okay? First, you stop the bleeding. Second, you shift the energy. And third, you rebuild the bond. Now, layer 1 is really stopping the bleeding because this means that you identify your bleeding points and eliminate them. Not hiding them, not managing them, eliminate them. If your bleeding point is losing your temper, you don't just try to control it. You install a system that prevents it from happening. You change your environment. You change your patterns. You change your response. Okay? Because here's the truth. Your wife has been watching you lose your temper for years. She's not going to believe that you've changed because you said so. She's going to believe that you changed when she sees it consistently over time. The layer 2 is really shifting the energy. And this is where most men get stuck. They stop the bleeding, but they don't shift the energy. They stop being the problem, but they don't start being the solution. Shifting the energy means becoming the calm in the storm. It means being grounded when she's dysregulated. It means leading without needing her approval. Now, here's the key. You can't shift energy if you're still seeking her validation. If you're saying, did you notice I didn't lose my temper? If you're still asking, are we okay now? Or even if you're still waiting for her to say, I see you trying, then you're not leading, you're performing. And she can feel the difference. Layer 3 is making sure that you rebuild the bond. This is the final stage, and here's what you need to know. You can't rebuild the bond until you've stopped the bleeding and shifted the energy. Because if you try to reconnect before you rebuild safety, she'll pull away again. Think of it like this. You can't build a house on a cracked foundation. You have to fix the foundation first. And that's what most guys miss. They want the connection. They want the intimacy. They want the closeness. But they haven't done the work to make her feel safe enough to let that happen. So if you're watching this and thinking, I just want my wife back. Look, I get it. I was there too. But you can't want her back more than you want to become the man that she needs. And that's the shift. That's the difference between begging and leading, between hoping and building. Right. So here's what I want you to do next. If you're watching this and thinking, this makes sense, but I don't know where to start, I want to invite you to book a free consultation call with us, okay, with me and my team. On this call, we're going to identify your biggest bleeding points, map out exactly what's keeping her shut down, and show you the exact steps to start rebuilding safety starting today. This isn't a sales call. This is a strategy call. And by the end of it, you're going to have more clarity than you've had in months. So if you're serious about saving your marriage, stop guessing and start leading. Book your call down below. That link's in the description. All right, so let's kind of wrap this up, right? Because here's what I want you to walk away with. Your wife didn't leave because you're broken. She left because she doesn't feel safe. And the good news is, safety can be rebuilt, trust can be restored, and connection can be rekindled. But it doesn't happen through words. It happens through promises. It doesn't happen through hoping and waiting. It happens through leadership, consistency, and through becoming the man she needs, whether she comes back or not. Here's the thing. Most men wait until it's too late. They wait until she's filed for divorce, until she's moved out, until she's completely done. We handle all those situations. Go look at some of our interviews. They're some of the worst situations. But don't be that guy. Don't wait. Because here's the truth. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. The more distance there is, the more work it takes. But if you start today, if you start leading today, you start rebuilding safety today, you give yourself the best possible chance. And if she doesn't come back, you'll walk away knowing you led like a man, without begging, without losing yourself, without regret. So here's the challenge to you. Stop waiting for her to meet you halfway. Stop hoping she'll notice your effort. Stop trying to convince her with your words. Start leading, start rebuilding. You start becoming the lighthouse. If you want help with that, if you want a clear step-by-step plan, book your free call with my team. Like I said, that link's in the description. Or you can go get our Heroic Husband book. That's also in the description. We work with high-performing men just like you, entrepreneurs, executive leaders, men who've mastered success outside the home, but feel powerless inside it. And we've helped hundreds of men rebuild trust, rekindle connection, and save their marriage. Even when she was ready to leave, even after divorce. So if that's you, don't wait. Book your call now. All right, that's it for today. If this video helped you, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a comment below. Share this with someone who might need it, and let me know what resonates with you the most. I'll see you in the next one. Later.